All right, so very basic video, how to do a search and find credible sources. And this is the first step in finding your sources and eventually writing your project proposal. So the very first thing most people are going to do is use Google. You want to start with the most general and basic keywords of your topic just to see what is out there. So if my topic was teaching, and I want to maybe make the point that teaching is a challenging job, and my counterpoint is that teachers are overpaid and it's an easy job, I'm just going to say teaching, hard job. See what hits I get. Teachers overpaid. And then don't forget that you also need some very basic background information about your topic. So I might even search something like about teachers. Very simple. So once you put in your very simple keywords, just the words that might bring up articles that will relate to your topic, just do a quick scan of your results. And you want to look for publishers or websites you recognize. So up here, Teaching Hard Job, monster.com. I don't know that that's credible or going to have the information I need. Payscale.com, I'm not sure if that's credible, but that might be interesting for talking about how much teachers get paid. But here's a Washington Post article, and this is an article from The Guardian, and those are both trusted news sources I've heard of. So I usually scan for websites or publishers that I recognize, and then I click on those sources first. So once you've done that, you probably have some idea of what topics you might want to cover in the sections of your paper, what topics will end up in your thesis. I'm not just going to argue that teaching's a hard job. I'm going to argue some specific reasons why it's a hard job. So this search is probably ultimately too broad. And so maybe I have an idea that I'm going to argue that, the state testing and the pressure for teachers to raise test scores is a big problem with teaching. So I might just add that into my keywords, teaching, hard job, test scores. So you're not writing a complete sentence for your keyword. You're just including the most basic words. If that's not coming up, I might include a term like state testing instead of test scores and see if that gets more hits in my results that help me make my point. So another thing that is really helpful is for any internet source you find on Google, you have to do a credibility check. You have to look around, make sure it is from a publisher that you trust. You have to check into the author. A good shortcut is to use the databases. So if you go and the second thing in this task, the second number 2 is the sheet database search tips, and it has a ton of links to databases that BCC subscribes to. At a college level, you will definitely be required to use databases. So often you'll have to enter a username and password, and those are all in the database search tips document. But if you click on a database, so I'm going to go to SIRS, which is usually a pretty good one. It can be really good for helping you, especially with a lot of the standard issues. So I actually didn't find the best information about teaching in the databases. It's not a very common issue, but an issue like gun control, legalization of marijuana, or, voting rights for teens, you're probably going to find in these databases. So here I clicked the SIRS web app. I put gun control into that database, and it came up with all of these pro-con links that I can click, which will take me to articles that have already been vetted. So the great thing about databases is that you can pretty much trust, if you know it's a trusted database the school subscribes to, you can pretty much trust any article in there, and you don't have to worry about credibility checking. It will also offer you a lot of background information that is credible for your introductory section, and it will also maybe pull out some different things you haven't thought about. So talking about stand your ground laws under gun control or hunting under gun control might be great topics. So as I scroll down further on this page, it suggests some other things I might look into, which is helpful as I consider kind of what my thesis will focus on. And it even gives me different sources. So I can pull primary sources, some statistics, and all of these articles have been vetted and deemed to be credible for a research paper. So anything you find on a database you can use. And databases, again, work better if you have a really common topic. And then the last thing I'm going to highly encourage you to do is see if your topic is on New York Times Room for Debate. The New York Times is a really well-respected news source by most people, and their Room for Debate webpage has tons of different topics. I clicked on how to ensure and improve teacher quality, and you can, under that topic, it will have 5, 4, 7. It has several articles written by trusted authors talking about both sides. So it actually pulls kind of the pro-con articles for you. And if you're having a hard time deciding what the two sides of your topic are, something like New York Times Room for Debate might help you find good sources, but also think about how you might divide your thesis up into a side you're arguing and a counterpoint. So that's it. Your next step is to actually read that database search sheet and maybe click around to see if any of those databases work for you, and to then move on to number 3, the video tutorial about how to skim.